Then you wash your throat with wine. Then a little cheese.
Right.
Tannic Grips.
We're here. We're here today to have a little chat about cheese and wine. Everybody kind of thinks this is totally natural pairing. It's super easy. And it's just kind of not, actually. Jill hit it.
I wore my overalls for the occasion. As Britt likes to say, cheese is the heart of America. And so I will say it is the heart of America, but it doesn't go with wine all as easy as we think. Cheese is filled with fat, which is great, but it's also filled with quite a lot of salt. And salt has a tendency to dry out our mouths. And wine, if it involves tannins also dry out our mouths. So a lot of us romantics or travelers, we like to think, oh, let's like be at the beach and have some wine and cheese, or read a book and have some wine and cheese, when in reality, we're just becoming really thirsty and we should just have some water. Unless you take the time to taste these wines that we're going to talk about, because they actually do go very well. Yeah. They're all born in northern Spain, an area that produces a boatload of cheese. Should we jump right in?
Yeah, so two of the wines are kind of rare, and one of them is a little bit more accessible that you might be familiar with, but it's even unique to itself, just for what it is. So you've got a lot of options here today for your next little wine and cheese distance gathering outside for a bonfire. Yeah,
it's true. Let me ask you. So when you have your cheese plate, you have your bread, your cheese. What else do you have with it? As an accompaniment,
Well, I like jams or marmalades.
Oh, stop right there. Perfect. It's almost as if I'd set her up. Okay, so yes, you have. I don't know. Just like this. Okay, so you have your raisins or your dried fruits or your marmalade. Here, you could just put that all into this little package of. It's not as sweet as a marmalade, but here this is a wine called Espadon, and it's a Garrotxa, so Grenache, that is grown. We're far northeastern Spain. We are very close to the French border, actually, right on the Mediterranean Sea, and they're fermenting the wine in huge concrete vats, native ferment, and it's in a solera, so you get a blend of years, anything that's 5-ish years old, all the way. There's some wine in here from the 1930s, and so what you're getting is this wine with a really mellow, very slight sweet quality, but with a lot of these hazelnut and jam and confected cherry notes, and with cheese,
so fun,
off the charts, and only $25, which for a wine that has some juice in it from 1931, I think is when the Solera started.
Super
it's
cool.
Delicious.
It's super windy in that area. It's the Catalunya region. And is this a Rancio Sec?
It's not. No,
okay.
It's not. Yeah, Rancio wines can kind of have that sherry-esque quality, and this does not really have that, but it does have a little bit of that kind of more sweet nut sort of feel. If you had tossed pecans in a little butter and sugar, it has a little bit of that.
Yeah, and it's a slightly oxidative quality. So it's not exactly like sherry, but it's kind of a fun to me, because it's not quite it's not as decadent as port might be, but it's also got this another wine that a lot of people will pair with cheese often. But I think it's kind of that. I feel to me it was when I had it, I felt a nice midpoint between sherry and port.
Yeah, that's a great quality, and how they keep it. The sugar is all natural, so they take the grape juice starts to ferment, and then they spike it with just a little bit of a grape spirit, and that grape spirit stops the fermentation, so you're left with any natural sugars that the grape juice would have, and then they finish the assemblage over the course of. Assemblage meaning blend. I just wanted to sound like I know what I'm talking about. I usually don't. And so then you're left with this beautiful wine that has the complexity of almost 100 years old with the freshness of now, and only for $25. Get it now because there are only 6 bottles left.
Awesome.
Maybe 5 after this tasting. Should I Malone you?
Malone me. Getting better.
What hospitality. Server first, Malone me back. Thank you. Is up here. We're traveling west to the Basque Country, northern, kind of eastern central Spain, but on the coast. Chacolina. This is Bengoeche.
Yeah.
Like more like Ben Garrotxa. It's just like, go do something. I don't know. Just I want to yell it.
It's a super fun and incredibly like beautiful wine. A lot of people might be familiar with Chocolina. This is mostly under Ruby Zuri and Gros Melensang, which is a typical like French blending grape, but there is a Spanish name for it. Jill, hit me.
It's actually a Basque name, and I'm looking for it right now, and it's called It's Criot Aundi.
So it's super interesting. I think like what's fun about this one is that it's a slightly more warm region than most chocolinas. Like this is not quite, it's a little bit more inland. It still has a ton of salinity that it gets from being like so influenced by like from the maritime influence.
And that mirrors the salt really nicely in cheese.
But like just the fact that it's a little bit further inward is it makes it just a little bit of a warmer climate, which kind of adds a little added depth for myself. That's what I detect.
It
has like
does.
a little bit more like compacted, it's just a little bit more weight than a lot of other like chocolinas.
And that the clay soils kind of enhance that too, kind of compact, think of that. And one thing about this too is to just sort of piggyback off of that idea, most of those light chocolats in the, when we're talking about the northern reaches, the ones that are very close, the vineyards that are very close to the sea, I would get up and demonstrate, but I don't want you to see my cheese belly right now. But you would pour it from on high. This, you don't really need to do that. It's a little bit more of a serious chocolat that you can, serve like you would serve a normal white wine. You don't need to re-enliven that effervescence like they like to do on the coast. Would you like this with a harder cheese, a softer cheese, and how are we doing on time?
We're doing okay on time. We have about 5 minutes. And I'd say for myself, I would want it with like a harder cheese. I think it would its own like linear qualities. Like it's got a lot of like green apple and like green tropical fruits as well. Like not like very like underripe papaya or like like really green pineapple kind of. Like without being like overly like unctuous. Like I really do like I emphasize the underripe, but because it's like the acid is super high and really wonderful. But I think it would be, but it's still got pleasant fruit that I think it could hang with like a harder cheese, like just
yeah, for sure.
We'll try to toss some pairing suggestions out there in the email.
We'll definitely will. There's a cheese from this region called Idiazabal or Idiazabal, and it usually is smoked. What you find here in the United States, and if you can find Idiazabal, which if you have any good cheese places around you, you can definitely. This goes well. It also goes well with one of Britt and I's favorite date night, back when we could have date night cheeses, which is
cottage cheese
and Lawry's seasoned salt
and potato chips.
It's true. It goes really well with that too. So you can take the Idiazabal, you can throw that recommendation to the wind and all the nice stuff that Britt just said, and get some cottage cheese as well. Down. What do we have next?
All right, we've got another chocolate, but with the red grape.
And this is really, really rare to find red chocolat or chocolina as they call it there. It is. I know. It's like we're just serving ourselves the big portions. It's holiday season.
Yeah.
So this is. I've actually walked this vineyard plot, which is really cool. Pre-phylloxera, these vines are over a century old and still on their own rootstocks. This is from a region called Bacchio. Well, the village is called Bacchio. I actually had a police officer drive me to this location. And then the people, the winemaker and her husband were a little bit like, who the hell is coming here with the strange police in the Basque country? There's a long story that I won't bore you with because we only have like 3 minutes left. But this is 100% Ondarribi Belza, which is the red grape and chocolate, and it's made as a still wine, and it's absolutely delicious.
Yeah, it's super savory. With like, so this is like a wine that to me, like when I think about like the cheese platter, I also like. First off, it's got a lot of bell pepper for me on the nose, like right away.
It kind of reminds me of Bordeaux.
Like, a lot of Bordeaux. So if you're like. And way more affordable than a lot of Bordeaux, but it's got this like black olive note and like this like slightly like smoky, like there's an ashiness to it.
Yeah.
And like I keep thinking about like Kalamata, like those like or Moroccan, like black Moroccan, like cured olives would be super fun. I know we're like getting off topic, but with like the cheese, that's good. That's good.
That's Tannic Grip, and that's Tannic Grips all over the place.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like we're barely hanging on, but we've still got a grip.
We got a grip. Ooh, which,
yeah.
By the way,
yeah, let's talk grip.
Let's talk grip on a scale of 1 to 7.
Soft.
2.
Yes.
Good 2.
I think it's 2. I mean, it's there, and I think it could handle some like richer. I do think that this could work with a softer cheese. There's like Humboldt Fog, like goat cheese. I want to say like, and it's got this
the
like,
ashy
little,
quality
like,
fist pump in the distance. Love that.
That would be a really fun one, and we'll definitely, like I said, we'll definitely have some cheese recommendations. But this is like, it could hang with like a cheese that's like a little bit like softer and spreadable, even like a goat, something like goat, like a softer goat cheese, like even just like a super simple, and like cheap chef.
I think that also because it doesn't have a lot of tannin, makes it really amiable with a lot of cheeses. And what she was saying, like the soft cheeses and such, the fact that it has like that little quality of bitterness on the finish from these super beautiful vines. They're trained in like a pergola way, like high up. Makes it go really well with cheeses that like Chèvre that has a touch of bitterness. And I know that we're just running down. I see 30 seconds left.
Like really pretty like color, like it's almost like this brickish red color that like, and this is a 2017, so it's not like it's got a bunch of age or anything, but it's kind of fun to like. I don't know.
I was racing to you to say Tannic Grips.
Tannic Grips. Yeah, it's fun.
Be safe. Eat cheese.
I'm drinking wine and eating cheese and catching some rays, you know.